So unemployment is up a bit. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm not surprised, but it's distressing, really. And this is the highest level of unemployment we've had for 5 years now. You'd have to go back to the pandemic to have a rate here. But I'm not surprised because what the government's decided to do is tax jobs. So they put up national insurance on jobs, talk down the economy, which extinguished the animal spirits. We had all that chaos in the build-up to the recent budget, which didn't help either, and borrowed and spent a lot of money, which has kept inflation higher and interest rates higher. And if you do those kind of things, you damage growth and you damage employment.
Can I talk to you a bit about AI? Because it feels to me like we're doing a lot of the kind of routine political debate, right, about government policies and the impact they've had. Legitimate, don't get me wrong. But it does feel to me with the jobs market, we have got this huge, colossal thing coming down the track, like a kind of new industrial revolution, AI, and we are not talking about it enough. Are you worried that some of this reduction in the number of jobs available, particularly among young people, is because of AI?
I think AI is and will continue to have an impact. I don't think that can be denied. And you've seen a big shrinkage to the number of graduate vacancies in the economy, for example. But look, we've seen these upheavals before, everything from the spinning jenny in the 18th century through the Industrial Revolution, laptop computers, internal combustion engine. These things have transformative effects on the economy. What matters is how quickly economies adjust within the labour market. And one of the things the government's doing is this employment rights bill, which is going to make it riskier to take people on, particularly younger people. And that's part of the story, I think, as to why we're going to see continuing these, sadly, increases in unemployment amongst younger people in particular. The final thing I'd say on that, Sophie, is that when it comes to national insurance increases, it wasn't just the rate that went up, but the threshold at which it kicks in was just about halved. And that disproportionately affected people on lower incomes and their recruitment prospects, and that means younger people again. So the wrong choice is being taken, particularly hitting younger people.
Just on AI, because you acknowledge that it's going to have this transformative impact on the jobs market. What kind of jobs do you think are going to be made, kind of redundant from AI, and what kind of jobs are we going to still need? I mean, what advice would you give your own kids right now, basically, if you're trying to work out what job to go into?
Probably the advice would be to go and become an electrician or a plasterer or a bricklayer, because it's unlikely that AI is going to impact that sector. But if you are in areas of professional services, accountancy, legal firms, consultancies, those kind of areas, and that is where the evidence is showing in real time that the cutbacks in graduate recruitment is most impacting. So that's probably
it's basically the opposite of what we were told when we were at school, basically.
Well, this is the slightly worrying thing.
It's a different way of thinking.
Yeah, the worrying thing is I think there will be people that started a degree 3 years ago, maybe coding would be one example, where you would have thought that 3 years later they'd be coming into a buoyant labour market with good earnings going forward, where whole swathes of those skills are being just taken out by AI altogether. But that's all the more reason why the government needs to get the tax right to drive employment and get the skills offer right to be able to adjust to that rapidly changing, volatile labour market.
Donald Trump suing the BBC for $10 billion. I mean, does he need to withdraw that claim? What's your view?
Well, that's down to him to decide whether he wants to do that or not. And $10 billion is an absurdly large amount of money, and I'd be very surprised if any settlement or otherwise the BBC is disputing this claim vigorously.
Is it morally right to do it, though? I mean, it's taxpayers, isn't it? He'll end up...
Well, that's down to him. And what we can't get away from, unfortunately, is the fact that in that Panorama programme, a week before the presidential election, the BBC chose to take two sections of what Donald Trump had said, about an hour apart, splice them together and present that in a way that was clearly misleading.
They have apologised, they've lost their Director General,
yes, that is all true. That is all true. But it is, his prerogative as to whether he decides to take further action. But let's see where that leads. The BBC has serious questions to answer here, I think.
Liz Truss is referred to in the claim. I don't know if you've seen this. The claim says, no less an authority than the United Kingdom's former Prime Minister Liz Truss discussed this bias, the need to hold the BBC accountable and the BBC's pattern of actual malice. Do you think we can call Liz Truss no less an authority? She was the shortest-serving Prime Minister.
Well, I'm not going to draw into how to categorise Liz Truss.
What kind of authority do you think Liz Truss is?
Well, clearly what's happening here is that within this legal case, the Trump legal team have decided, to their advantage to pray in aid comments made by a former Prime Minister, and they're entitled to do that. And if it gets to court, then I suppose the court will take a view on that.
What kind of authority is Liz Truss?
Well, Liz Truss is a former Prime Minister.
That's a fact,
and
yes.
she's been, well, therein is your answer, really. But at the end of the day, it will be for a court, if it gets that far, to determine whether that's material or not.
OK, thank you very much indeed,
Thank you.
Mel Stride.